Justice with Judge Mablean will be life because in everything we do, it involves the law.
Where's your witness?
In the evidence.
That's hearsay.
It's notarized.
I still say it's hearsay.
She's fair.
You gotta help these young men learn how to do this the right way.
Yes, Your Honor.
She's firm.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
No, I don't need to say anything else.
She's honest.
I'm not your child and I'm not your friend. That's the order of the court. Goodbye.
This is Justice with Judge Mablean.
All rise. Both parties raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Court is now in session with the Honorable Judge Mablean presiding.
Thank you. You may be seated. In the matter of Amanda Davis versus Sarah White, Ms. Davis, you're suing Ms. White for $1,200 for a medical bill you incurred when your son was rushed to the hospital after ingesting THC or marijuana. And you're blaming Ms. White, who's the babysitter, who was the babysitter, right? And Ms. White, you said, nope, not on me. So convince me that it's on you, on her, not you. Ms. Davis.
Hi, Your Honor. Yes, my name is Amanda Davis. I am suing in the amount of $1,200 due to negligence on the part of Sarah White for doctor's bills that I accrued because my son ended up in the emergency room.
How did it happen? What happened?
Well, Sarah, who has been a friend of mine for a year and who has been watching my son, Drew, for me, who is 4 years old, was in her care one night when I had to go to work at 6 o'clock, like I usually do. She came to my house and came to watch him. I gave her direct instructions not to allow him to have any sweets or any snacks whatsoever after his meal or before he goes to bed. And she allowed him to have cookies that he ended up in the hospital having his stomach pumped for.
So you weren't at home?
I was not at home.
And what were these cookies?
They were medical marijuana cookies that my friend and neighbor gave to me for my birthday.
And where were they?
They were in the refrigerator on the very top shelf in the back, way out of the reach of Drew.
So how long had those cookies been there?
They had been there for a few weeks.
Okay, did you tell Ms. White that you had some cookies in there?
I had told her.
That were laced with marijuana?
Yes, I had mentioned to her that my neighbor gave them to me for my birthday, and she was aware that I partake in edibles and that Drew should not get to anything while I'm away, and she should keep a close eye on him, and she neglected to do so.
Okay, Ms. White, tell me your side.
Hi. So.
Did you say hey?
Sorry. Hello, Your Honor.
No, we're not quite that familiar.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
My apologies. So I was watching Mrs. Davis's son, Drew. I arrived at 6 p.m. and she basically did not disclose to me that she had cookies in the fridge that were edible. She only alerted me about Drew having snacks, and that's what I was aware of. I didn't know that she had edibles in the fridge. She had told me that she didn't want him to get into any snacks, but I didn't know that there's edibles in the fridge. I know that she partakes in THC. We've had interactions with each other after watching Drew where we've had a glass of wine or we've smoked together, but she never told me that there was edibles in the house that day that I watched it.
So the two of you have smoked weed together?
Yes.
At her house?
Yes.
After the child has gone to bed?
Yes.
So you knew that there was marijuana in the house. Well, you knew that she kept it there somewhere. It may not have been. You didn't know if she had any that day, but
yes.
You knew that.
I didn't know that she had any that day. She didn't tell me anything. I had a brief conversation with her about her going to a comedy show that she was performing at, and that's all I knew. I didn't know that there was edibles in the fridge.
So how does the child get to them? If he's 4 years old and they were in the refrigerator, where's this refrigerator, on the floor?
No. So I was putting the leftovers away after we had had our dinner, and I was moving stuff around just to make the leftovers fit perfectly, and I had moved them, but I didn't know that they were edibles. There's a note, I even have the evidence right here, a photo. Basically, I did not know that they were edibles. I just moved the box to a lower shelf so I can make everything fit for the leftovers. And then me and Drew proceeded to go upstairs. We watched a movie, and I stepped away to use the bathroom for 5 minutes. When I came back...
Did you give me this as your evidence?
Yes, I did.
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you read this note?
No, it's not my business. I just
Why
moved
isn't it your business if you're moving things around in the refrigerator?
Coming up on Justice with Judge Mablean.
So I went upstairs, I grabbed Drew.
Why? You didn't know what kind of cookie he ate?
Well, I read the note after I saw that it was open.
You finally read the note!
Yes, I read the note, finally.
Wow, what a revelation.
And later,
I asked him to stop. He said he wasn't doing it. I don't know if someone broke into his backyard and tries to steal the avocados, but they're going somewhere, not in my pocket.
if you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Amanda Davis, who is suing Sarah White for medical expenses.
You're there with the child at that time of night. You're in charge and you're in control. You're in the refrigerator. You're moving things around. And there's a big a post-it note in blue on top of a container, and you have a 4-year-old in the house and you didn't bother to read what the note said, and you're moving stuff around? Why didn't you read it?
I didn't read it because I didn't think that it actually had to do with something like that. I didn't think that it was edibles. I didn't think it was anything like that.
I don't know what it was, but how old are you?
21.
Okay, so when somebody puts a note on food, is this typical that note is on top of food containers? Unless they're saying something about the container? Mm-hmm. So, and you didn't bother to read it knowing that you got a 4-year-old in the house?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she didn't want him to have any sugar. And she didn't want him to have any sweets. So you at least needed to know whether this container contains sweets or sugar or snacks that she didn't want him to have. And you put it on the bottom shelf, right?
Yes.
Reachable to him. Mm-hmm. So it was really incumbent upon you to read this note to make sure that you weren't putting something down there at the bottom that he could get when she didn't want him to have that. If it was just a cookie. That was negligent on your part.
I feel like she should have told me that they were edibles.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. According to her testimony, she did.
But she didn't.
I have mentioned to her.
What does mention mean?
I made her aware that I was given cookies, and she didn't know whether they were still there or not, and so.
And you didn't know, you didn't tell her where they were, and you didn't tell her they were in the refrigerator. So if you mentioned that your neighbor or your friend had given you cookies that had THC, marijuana, why couldn't you tell her where they were? You're passing out all these other instructions to her. Why couldn't you tell her where they were and say, make sure he doesn't get those?
That's correct.
So you didn't say that either. When someone's keeping a child and someone's at your house in the refrigerator, you don't know what they're going to do in the refrigerator. You were negligent too. Very negligent. More negligent than she.
That is true, Your Honor.
Because it's your duty. You're the mother. It was in your house. You knew he was a 4-year-old that liked sweets, and like most 4-year-olds. And he probably had seen this container thinking it's just cookies, and he wanted a cookie.
And she was supposed to not let him get to
Okay, so
anything.
how did it happen that he got to it?
So we were upstairs watching a movie. I stepped away to use the bathroom for a few minutes, and when I came back, Drew had chocolate on his face. And I had asked him, I was like, what did you get into? What have you been eating? He denied everything, said he didn't eat
What do you mean he
anything.
denied? He didn't tell you what he had been eating?
He was just like, I didn't eat anything. You know 4-year-olds, they're like, I didn't eat anything. He definitely ate something.
He got with his hands, the proverbial got caught with his hands in the cookie jar.
Exactly. And so I put him to bed, and I went downstairs to grab a glass of water, and when I went downstairs, I saw what he got into. I instantly freaked out. I was blowing her up.
Wait a minute, what did you see then?
I saw the edible container.
How did you know it was the edible container then?
Well, I didn't know that it was edibles, but I'm saying the edible container, now that we know it's edibles, was open. And there was a cookie misplaced and eaten. And so I went upstairs, I grabbed Drew.
Why? You didn't know what kind of cookie he ate?
Well, I read the note after I saw that it was open.
Finally read the note.
Yes, I read the note, finally.
Wow, what a revelation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
I
I'm
was
glad you read
sorted.
the note finally.
Yes. So,
And so then you grabbed him.
I grabbed him. I put him in the car. I rushed to the ER. Called poison control.
Why didn't you call 911?
I just didn't think of that. I just thought the quickest thing would be driving him to the ER.
How's the quickest thing you driving him to ER when you guys stop at signal lights? And the emergency vehicle doesn't.
Right.
You sound like a zip dang fool to walk into my courtroom asking her to pay you for the medical bill for your child because you're lucky. You're blessed that it was just a medical bill and not a funeral bill. Because there have been numbers of cases across the nation over and over and over of children ingesting edible foods, cookies, candies, cakes, and all that stuff, and dying because there's too much THC inside. There was a recent case in Pennsylvania, and the parents got prison time. And it was a 4-year-old. To bring her into court talking about it's her fault, when she took the precaution that she took, and fortunately your child is alive, it's your fault. This was on you. It was on both of you, really. But you're the parent, and you had knowledge of what was in here. And if you don't accept responsibility, you'll do the same thing again. You'll bring some other type of edible into the house and put it somewhere where it can be found. You should take your edibles and hide them and under lock and key just like it's a gun.
I actually do not keep them in the house anymore.
That's what you should do to this
Your
stuff.
Honor.
You should treat it like it's a gun and put it under lock and key.
I agree.
Yes, it's legal, but it doesn't say that people don't die from it because you're allowed to eat it and to ingest it and to enjoy it.
I agree.
You have a 4-year-old child in the house.
Yes.
You have to be more than extra careful. Get out of my courtroom. Judgment for the defendant.
Judge Mablean has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been denied.
Sometimes when you have kids, you shouldn't leave drugs unattended or unannounced in your house.
Next time you have children in your care, you should make sure to be careful with what you let them get a hold of.
Coming up.
Okay, so he's accusing me of stealing avocados, basically calling me a thief. In actuality, it's his tree that's over on my property dropping avocados everywhere, and I have to deal with this.
You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean.
In the matter of Nick Fairway versus Avid Curtin, Mr. Fairway is suing you for $350 saying you're picking fruit from his tree. Well, he says stealing. And you say, nope, it's on my side. Let me hear from you.
I have about an acre in Fallbrook, California, and I have a very large avocado tree. I've been farming there for about 10 years. It's the house I grew up in. When Mr. Curtin moved in about 18 months ago, I started noticing that a couple of avocados were missing. And then it was like a couple more, and I kept noticing that it's all along our property line. The rest of the tree is perfectly fine, but all of a sudden, I'm noticing just a little bit at a time, and now it got to the point where pretty much a third, almost half of my tree is now barren.
No, be quiet.
Because someone's taking the avocados. I went over and I discussed it with Mr. Curtin, and he complained that my tree is going over his yard and it's making a mess in his, and I was like, well, I'm willing to take care of it if you just wait until harvest time. And he didn't want to hear anything I had to say, and he made it seem like this was going to be something that's growing into a problem, and now we're here.
And why are we here?
I sell my avocados at the local farmer's market. I got about 5 farmer's markets I go to through the week. And when someone's taking a third of my harvest, it makes it hard for that money. It makes it hard for that money to get into my pocket. And so I asked him to stop. He said he wasn't doing it. I don't know if someone broke into his backyard and tries to steal the avocados, but they're going somewhere, not in my pocket. So I thought that this was the most effective way to get what I think he's taken from me, which is $350 roughly. I estimated, because my tree generally does between 300 and 500 avocados. I sell the avocados for $3 a piece.
Okay.
And so estimating that he took about 100 at $3 a piece is about 300. When I did the research to find out what I could do to keep my avocado tree from getting onto his property, the arborist gave me an estimate of $350. And so those kind of synced up in my mind with what I should be owed.
Coming up,
Yeah, I pick them down when I see they're about to fall, because if I don't pick them up and they end up in my yard, they attract rodents.
you're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Nick Fairway, who is suing Avid Curtin for theft.
Let me hear from you, Mr. Curtin.
Okay, so he's accusing me of stealing avocados, basically calling me a thief, making it seem like I'm some nuisance. In actuality, it's his tree that's over on my property dropping avocados everywhere, and I have to deal with this. And I even have proof right here to show you exactly how much of the tree is hanging over onto my side.
He admits that his tree is hanging over on your property.
And I admitted that I will help.
I don't ask you to talk. You've had your turn.
Thank you.
So I'm the one with the small branch on the left-hand side. On the right side with the little, you see 2, 3 avocados. That's
on the
me.
the right side of the picture. That's
right
your
side of the
house.
picture. Yes, ma'am.
And that's his tree limbs hanging over your yard.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so you don't climb the tree to get the avocados, do you?
I have a ladder and I have a cherry picker. You know, the thing that you grab and you can
Just
reach
pick them
far.
down.
Yeah, I pick them down when I see they're about to fall, because if I don't pick them up and they end up in my yard, they attract rodents. And so I don't want to have a rodent problem. And he's too busy to come in.
I've got a whole
That's-
garden and I don't have a rodent problem.
One more time. One more time. Y'all trying my patience.
Seems to be a theme.
Yeah, so basically it's causing me a health problem, because I can't be having rodents and all this stuff on my property, and causing me to have to, clean up all this mess coming from his trees. When I see them on the ground, I'll pick them, and then when I see them about to fall, I pick them, because they're gonna fall anyway. And I asked
I
him.
offered to clean them up.
Uh-oh. We're going to end this right now, because you just can't stop talking. Now, I'm going to make my ruling.
Judge Mablean's verdict when Justice with Judge Mablean returns. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean.
Your tree limbs are on his property line. They're on his property line. He has not stolen anything from your tree, because it's hanging over into his property. You said it, he said it, no disagreement. He is not stealing. You don't want him, close your mouth, don't want to hear it. If he doesn't pick them, they're gonna fall onto his ground. And he's correct that if avocados left in his yard, it's gonna cause a mess in his yard. So your solution was cut the limb that hangs on his side. You could have cut it a long time ago. He doesn't want your tree hanging over into his yard. He didn't steal a doggone thing, and he doesn't have to let your avocados grow on his side. Judgment for the defendant.
Judge Mablean has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been denied.
Well, like I said, anything that falls into my airspace, into my yard, that's
But you
me.
knew you bought that ladder just to pillage the fruit of my labor.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.